Hello and welcome to Winchester Now, our weekly roundup of some of the stories making the news in and around our city this week. I'm Mary Blaxland. Coming up in our programme, we have a special interview with the new Bishop of Winchester, hear his hopes for the future, and why hedgerows are making a comeback in Hampshire. Plus our community shout-outs too. Winchester Radio. The new Bishop of Winchester is being officially welcomed during a special service at the cathedral this Saturday. The ceremonial occasion will begin at St Lawrence Church in the city centre. He'll then be met in the square by the Mayor of Winchester, Chief Executive of the City Council, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Portsmouth, and the head teacher and pupil from the Bishop of Winchester Academy in Bournemouth. Together they'll process to the cathedral for a service inside and outside the building. Well, the Right Reverend Philip Mount Stephen has been in post for a couple of months and spoke to Winchester Radio about his thoughts and hopes for the future.
It's been great. I'm really enjoying it. It's been a strange but a really positive period because my service of welcome isn't until, just a few days' time now, but I've actually been functioning as Bishop of Winchester for a good couple of months. But kind of operating under the radar, so that's given me the opportunity to get out and about, visit churches, not completely incognito, but not in my official role, Sunday by Sunday, having lunch with clergy, having all sorts of meetings with all sorts of people, and that's been really, really positive, and I've been really encouraged by what I found too.
Tell me a bit about the service of welcome. It's very traditional, isn't it? What sort of things might people see if they're walking through the city on Saturday?
Yeah, it is traditional, and some of it goes back a long way, but we've also tried to give it a bit more of a contemporary twist by ancient tradition that goes back, I think, to the 14th century. The whole thing starts in St Lawrence Church on the other side of the close near the High Street, and we process from there down into the cathedral. I'm actually going to be greeted by a child who asks me who I am and what I'm doing there. So there's a nice little bit of dialogue between the two of us. And the kind of central, kind of significant act is when I'm actually put in my seat. So I sort of, literally I take my seat in the cathedral. So that's a kind of formal symbolising of my kind of being in place here to do the job and to love and serve the people of the city of Winchester and the Diocese of Winchester.
So you're going to be giving a talk, a sermon. What are you going to be talking about? What are your priorities looking ahead?
Well, I don't want to let too many cats out of the bag. But yes, I want us essentially to look forward in this diocese to what I hope is a better, fruitful, happier future for us. So a keynote in my theme certainly is going to be the theme of hope, but I would encourage anyone listening to either come to the cathedral. It will all be live streamed, so if you go to the Winchester Cathedral website, you'll be able to follow the service and indeed hear my sermon as well.
What are the challenges that lie ahead for the Winchester Diocese?
I think in many ways they're the same challenges that face any diocese, although Winchester has had a particularly difficult time, as many people will be aware, in recent years. And that there are challenges. We live in a rapidly changing world. I think we're still coming to terms with the impact of COVID on us as much as anything else. But, without belittling or sidelining those kind of challenges, I think, the biggest challenge that we face is to be the best, the most loving community, body of people that we possibly can be. I often say to churches that maybe are struggling with a sense of purpose, I would say to them, look, don't forget what you are. You are a loving community of people at the heart of the local community, and many people in this world are crying out for community. Our contemporary world can be a lonely place, and churches provide ready-made, loving community, and I think that's a great gift. So I think the big challenge we face is to be the very best that we can be, motivated by the love of Jesus Christ and loving our neighbours as we love ourselves.
You touched on the divisions in the Winchester Diocese, which were well publicised at the time. Is there still healing to be done there?
I'm sure there is, and I don't want to belittle that. I also do recognise the last couple of years have been a significantly positive and healing time for this diocese. I genuinely, I would want to say, I think this diocese is in much better heart and much better shape than many people might actually expect it to be. I've been really encouraged by the quality and the calibre of the people that I've found, and the sense of hope and optimism. So yes, there's still healing to be done. I have no doubt about that, but I do think the direction of travel is a good and a positive one.
And any changes you're looking to make? For example, we were talking earlier, we're sat here in Wolvesey Palace. Any changes there?
I want to go steadily and carefully. I think my job, above all else, is to listen and to learn and to encourage the good that I find. And only on the basis of that, then to think, well, what might we need to do afresh? What might we need to do differently? But I think, certainly for the first phase of my ministry here, it's an exercise in listening, an exercise in learning, and an exercise in loving, actually. It's only really on the basis of that I think one can then think about what the priorities for the next phase are going to be.
And can you talk anything about this building and your thoughts on here?
Well, Wolvesey is an amazing building. It's a beautiful building. It's a building full of great historic significance. And I really value the heritage of this diocese. I'm acutely aware I'm the 98th Bishop of Winchester. This goes back to the 7th century, before England existed. So I do value our heritage. Wolvesey is a place that has had a lot of work done on it. It's not in a fit state to live in at the moment, so it needs more work done on it. And we also need to think, this is a very big place, and it's far too big a place for one man, his wife and a dog to live in. So we also need to think about, as well as being the bishop's residence, what else might this building be for? And how, indeed, can we open it up and help it to be a gift and of service to the wider community?
Many churches in the local community might be struggling with congregations. It's well known congregations are falling. How do you make the church more relevant to society today, especially, I suppose, with the cost of living?
Yeah, I think churches have done a remarkable job, actually, in the last few years in loving and serving their local communities. If you look at the social value that churches put into their local communities, it's immense. If you were to take out from initiatives such as food banks and memory cafes and debt counselling and street pastoring, children's groups, whatever it may be, if you were to take out church members from that in this country, then all of that would collapse. So I think my main desire, as I've said before, is to see churches be the best that they can be, being loving, serving communities that love and serve their neighbour, and then actually then invite other people to come and join them in that endeavour. So there isn't too much of an us and them feel about it, but that this is our local parish churches are hubs and centres for the whole community to come into and to go out from.
Obviously, we're a local community radio station. If there was a message that you would like to give to the local community, what would it be?
I would want to say, be proud of Winchester's history and heritage. I mean, this is a remarkable place. And were it not for the city of Winchester, the Diocese of Winchester, the Kingdom of Wessex, this country and this world would be a really different place. And I think this place has been a gift to the wider world, and we should be proud of that heritage, not in a way that kind of simply draws us back into a nostalgic past, but we should use that as a springboard into the future. How can this city, how can this community build on that heritage and love and serve the wider world in the way that we should?
And just finally, just to touch on you, obviously your faith is important to you. What else is important to you?
My faith's really important to me. You may have picked this up from the interview. I love history. I love knowing about where we've come from, because I think, as I say, a sense of the past can be a really helpful signpost into the future for us. I love getting out and about, visiting places. I love travel, both domestically and overseas. Family is really important to me. My wife and I are awaiting the arrival of our first grandchild in the next couple of weeks. My wife Ruth is really important to me, as is our delightful West Island Terrier Noggin. So yeah, those are some of the things that matter to me. I'm just delighted to be here. I hadn't expected to. I thought my last job would be my last job before I retired. So it feels an extra bonus and a gift to come to Winchester.
That was the Right Reverend Philip Mount Stephen, the 98th Bishop of Winchester.
Winchester Radio.
A former Winchester mayor has pleaded not guilty to a charge of sexual assault against a teenage girl. 67-year-old Derek Green of Battery Hill is alleged to have touched the 16-year-old inappropriately over her clothing at the bonfire and fireworks display at the River Park in November 2022. He'll appear at Winchester Crown Court on the 14th of February.
Now for some other stories making the news in Winchester this week. I'm Ron Venturi. Hampshire County Council has started a public consultation into future services in order to deal with a budget shortfall of £132 million. Views are invited on 13 detailed options, and proposals include cuts to planned road maintenance and gritting, reduced funding for community transport services such as Dial-A-Ride, reduced hours at household waste recycling centres, a review of school crossing patrols and street lighting, and a cut in grants to the Hampshire Cultural Trust. The consultation runs until the 31st of March, and details can be found at hants.gov.uk. Winchester City Council says plans are in place to ensure no one needs to sleep out on the streets during the cold weather. The council has activated its severe weather emergency protocol and is working with outreach teams at local charity Trinity Winchester. Anyone concerned about a rough sleeper can take action by visiting the website thestreetlink.org.uk. Thestreetlink, one word, .org.uk. Nominations have opened for the annual People Awards, hosted by the Hampshire Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust. The People Awards are an opportunity to recognise the truly remarkable and inspiring things that Hampshire Hospital staff do every day to care for patients and to keep the hospitals running. More than 400 nominations were received last year, and nominations for 2024 awards are open until the 15th of March, with an awards ceremony coming in June. For more details on the nomination process, search online for Hampshire Hospital's People Awards.
A 3-year project has begun to connect the South Downs National Park with the New Forest by a corridor of hedgerows. The project is being run by the countryside charity CPRE with the help of volunteers. On a Winchester farm overlooking St Catherine's Hill, volunteers are digging, planting and wrapping tender shrubs. Part of an ambitious project to repair and create a network of new hedging. Here's Project Officer Ellie Banks from the CPRE.
This is our 3rd year running of doing hedgerow projects, but this year is bigger and more ambitious than before. Previously, we were working in specific locations, but this year we've decided that we're going to use the power of the hedgerow to connect up the landscape. So we're going to be connecting up the South Downs and the New Forest National Parks with a series of interconnected hedgerows, connecting up green spaces, local nature reserves, copses, woodlands, meadows. We'll be planting hedgerows, laying hedgerows, gapping up existing hedgerows, improving the management of existing hedgerows and working with land managers and farmers to train them in hedge laying, but also to take volunteers out and just get plants in the ground.
Why is it so important to have these hedgerows?
In the last 70 to 80 years, we've lost about 50% of the hedgerows in the UK, but we've also forgotten how important it is to look after hedgerows in a certain way, and that's what we're trying to do. This project is sort of raise awareness and improve the management of hedgerows that we have.
And having those corridors of hedgerows as well are important, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So hedgerows are a man-made thing. We've put them in the landscape as boundary features to keep livestock in, but they've had this unintended consequence of being incredibly good for wildlife. They imitate woodland edges, they have a lot of flowers, a lot of fruits. They also provide nesting opportunities and hibernation places, and yeah, so it's a highway for a lot of animals. Things like, the hedgehogs, bats flying along the tops of them, hunting along them. They provide a lot for a lot of wildlife.
So it's a lot of hedges you're going to be planting and managing in this project.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. This winter we're planting 5 kilometres of hedgerow, so just between now and the end of March, 5 kilometres, which is 25,000 whips, so 25,000 plants. So it's quite an undertaking, and we'll be planting more the following winter and the following winter, but we'll also be hedge laying. So for those who don't know what hedge laying is when you cut into the existing hedgerow plants, but not all the way through, so you then can bend it over and lay it, and then the growth comes out at the base where you've cut it, and that new growth will make your hedge dense and rejuvenated, and that's good for wildlife, but it's also good for all the other benefits of hedgerows, such as like wind protection, to protect against soil erosion, water runoff, but also providing shelter and shade for our livestock. So there's so many benefits of hedgerows, and it's not just for wildlife.
The project aims to engage with local schools and communities and raise awareness of the importance of hedgerows. So what brings volunteers to take part regardless of the winter weather?
Well, I was fortunate enough to finish work April last year and wanted to sort of give back to the community and nature. Given the nature report that came out a few months ago, which wasn't very glowing, I think they've said that the UK is one of the nature depleted countries of the European Union. Interested in wildlife as well, obviously. I think if everybody does their little bit, it will be much better on a grander scale.
Around Winchester, all the hedgerows have gone over the years since the 60s, and it's time to put them back and bring the wildlife back. And I should imagine when it's established, to take a picture from above, from what it was to what it will be, it'll be great, yeah.
Yeah, I'm using up some volunteer days that I get from work. I quite like the idea of the project as well, collecting up the national parks. It's a nice little story, so yeah, really enjoying it.
And what have you been doing so far today?
Digging, planting, tough work actually. There's quite a lot of hard stuff under here which you have to work through, but it's, yeah, look out and see what you've done, it's quite nice.
What's brought you along to get involved in this project?
Just the experience of planting hedges, do a lot of other volunteering work in the countryside. This was a good opportunity, feels like the right thing to do.
And what in particular appealed to you about this? Particularly in winter, being outdoors in this cold and wet.
I just love being outdoors, so having retired a couple of years ago, I decided that getting outside was the main thing to do. There's so many opportunities to do this. Volunteering, then that's what I do.
It's wonderful to have people interested and wanting to help us. So we're planting every Thursday through till the end of March. We'll be planting at both ends of our hedge, so we'll be planting in the Copythorne area, but also in the Shawford and Compton area. So anyone who's in those areas or wants to travel, we absolutely welcome anyone to come and help us out. We'll be out all day at 10 till 3, but people can come for an hour, half an hour for the day, whatever you like, once, twice, every week. Anyone's welcome, and massively appreciated to have people's help. We really want to actually involve the Hampshire community in this project so that people will start noticing the lack of hedgerows and know what we can do about it and feel that hope that there is something we can do. So I'm going into schools and teaching primary school students about hedgerows, about the wildlife value. We're also running talks, so we've got online talks with various different ones, one about hedgehogs, one about hedgerow management, so it caters for everyone hopefully. But also we've got funding for community groups to plant hedgerows. So if you've got a community group in Hampshire that want to plant hedgerows or have hedges that need laying, then get in contact with us and we have funding for our community hedge fund. So that'll be running for the next 3 years and open to any group. But we're also doing things like running traineeships for young people to learn about hedge laying so that we can get more hedge layers. There's no point calling for an improvement of the management of hedgerows without having more people who can do it.
And what would you say to encourage more people to get involved in this?
Hedgerows not only are amazing for wildlife and help farmers who supply the food that we absolutely need, they also look beautiful, and hedgerows are that stitching that connects up the patchwork quilt of our countryside. And it's such a quintessentially English thing. I think it's something lovely to preserve, and seeing the landscape sort of go to more of an American look with like wide open fields and no hedgerows, I think is a real sadness, and I want to protect hedgerows for the future.
The project runs until March, and to get involved visit cprehampshire.org.uk.
Now some more news from around the city. 2 prospective parliamentary candidates for Winchester are facing questions about their green credentials next month. Local charity Winchester Action on Climate Change is giving people the chance to meet Danny Chambers from the Liberal Democrats and Flick Drummond from the Conservatives, and to share their thoughts on the climate emergency and on priorities for a future government. See the group's website winacc.org.uk for more information. Now, many of us will have shared a tub of chocolates this Christmas, maybe Quality Street, Celebrations, Roses or similar. Tens of millions of these are sold every year, and now the empty tubs could raise money for charity. A number of Winchester pubs are collecting them between now and the 11th of February. After that, they'll be taken to a plastic reprocessing centre where they're shredded before being sold to plastic manufacturers to be reused. The money raised will be donated to Macmillan Cancer Support. Among the venues taking part in the Tub to Pub programme are the Jolly Farmer, Royal Oak and County Arms pubs in Winchester, the Cart and Horses in Kingsworthy and the Bridge in Shawford. And a call has gone out to community groups to take part in this year's Hat Fair Festival, which will celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2024. The festival's carnival procession, with the theme of Look Back, Look Forwards, Look Up, will take place on Friday the 5th of July at 6 p.m, with groups parading through the city centre in costumes which look back at past carnivals and artists, look forward to future carnivals with sustainable costumes and robotics, and look up at acrobats and aerial artists. Training will be given in costume making skills, and community groups should register their interest on the Playmakers website.
Now an update on a story we told you about a few months ago. The Fabric of Winchester is a project spearheaded by the charity St John's. People were asked to create a square of material to share a special memory, and a number of community sewing days were held across the city. Well, now the blocks have been sewn together to create quilts, which were officially unveiled this week. They'll be donated as a gift to the Winchester Hospice next Thursday, but before then there's a chance for people to see these amazing creations at the Winchester Ark this weekend. Anna O'Brien went to the launch event and talked to some of those involved.
Hello, my name is Hannah and I did 3 blocks for the quilts that we're looking at today.
And did you have some textile experience, Hannah?
Yes, I did. 10 years ago I used to do textiles at college and I haven't actually touched a sewing machine since. And then I was working at the theatre and we had a workshop there and I decided that I would give it a go, see if the skill was still there, and luckily it still is. And so we got into creating these blocks.
And you've got the one we're looking at now is beautiful because it very much replicates the Theatre Royal, looking at the auditorium and the seats and the stage. Tell us how you came up with your designs.
So all of my designs are actually drawings that I've done to kind of try and remember something or keep a memory close. Because one of my big fears is that I'll eventually lose my memory, and so a good way to try and retain that is to go back and think about times and then draw a picture from it. I've then taken those drawings and created the sewing pieces. So I've done the theatre, and then another piece was an ice cream from when I went to my honeymoon in Lisbon, and then another piece is again in Lisbon, but it's of a tramp.
So very happy memories.
Yes, very, very happy memories.
Oh, it's beautiful work as well. And what I love about the squares on all these quilts is everyone tells its own unique story, but they're so colourful and they're so tactile. People will love them.
Yes, it's really, really nice to see. It's also so nice to see them all together now, because obviously I kept seeing like people doing different bits. I went to, I think, 3 of the different workshops, so it's really nice to get to know different people as well and see what their image or memory or something there's going to be on their bit of block, which is, I know, they're beautiful.
Hi, I'm Maddie Thompson, consultant nurse at Winchester Hospice, and it is so incredible to see this project, the Fabric of Winchester, which has been done in conjunction with St John's, have created the idea, and hugely supported by the Wessex quilters, have made these wonderful quilts which evoke lots of memories for people. That they've put them together. Each block has been carefully made and will end up on a bed in Winchester Hospice, which is amazing really, and our patients are so fortunate because looking at each block will help them have conversations about their lives and reflecting on things that happened in their lives, and it's just a wonderful opportunity for us, and thank you.
Hi, Paul Blitz here, and it's time for the shout-outs. Let's start with a story about Bobby Bears. Now, these are specially knitted teddies given by police officers to children involved in incidents of domestic abuse to provide comfort and reassurance and encourage them to talk about their experiences. Well, the police were invited down to the Winchester Cathedral recently to receive a selection of Bobby Bears knitted by members of the congregation. So our first shout out is to all of those who made these lovely bears, which makes such a difference. Now, several weeks ago we reported on Tinathon. It's a fundraising project that encourages people to do 30 minutes of exercise a day for the month of December. It's in memory of Tina Jury from Winchester, who lost her life to cancer. More than 240 people took part, and this year's event has taken the total raise in the last 5 years to more than £51,000. Money is supporting Winchester Hospice and Wessex Cancer Trust. We must give a special mention now to the Winchester Repair Cafe. Since it was set up in April last year, the team has fixed more than 200 items, saving all those goods from going into landfill. These skilled volunteers can fix all sorts of items from electrical appliances, computers, bicycles, furniture and clothes. The Repair Cafe is held on the second Saturday of each month, and from this Saturday it has a new venue. It'll still be held at the Badger Farm Community Centre between 10 and 12:30 in the morning, but now it'll meet at Winnell Primary School between 2 and 4:30 p.m. You can find out more or book a slot at repaircafewinchester.org. Good work, guys! And congratulations now to our team here at Winchester Radio as we celebrate our 40th birthday this year. The station was launched as Winchester Hospital Radio back in 1984 to entertain and comfort patients in the Royal Hampshire County Hospital. We're now a community radio station manned by volunteers, and we hope still entertaining and informing and being a friendly voice. 40 years. Now that must mean it's time for a party. Hey, anyone got a record player so I can play these old disco hits? Catch you all next week for more shout-outs.
Winchester Radio.
Well, my thanks to Paul and to Ron and to you for listening. Until next week, goodbye.
You've been listening to Winchester Now. We hope you've enjoyed this weekly programme from Winchester Radio. If you have a story to share with us, please let us know. You can drop us an email. We're news@winchester.radio. And you can follow us on social media platforms. Just search for Winchester Radio.
Winchester Radio.